We are often taught the lesson of striving for the best and most advanced, regardless of the consequences. But this lesson often turns us into indentured laborers for years, cursing the chains of lifestyle slavery and extending our sentence by buying things beyond our means. If you think you're in control, think again. Remember the last time you bought a pack of chewing gum? Did you feel any hesitation about its price? Did you question, can I afford this? Likely not. That's because it had no impact on your lifestyle or future choices. For a wealthy person, walking into a car dealership and casually purchasing a six-figure Bentley feels exactly the same. Affordability means not having to think about it. If you have to deliver it, it's a clear sign that it's not within your means. Think of it this way. If you want to buy a boat but find yourself calculating promotions, adjusting mortgages, hoping your stock portfolio grows by 10% this month, doubling your sales predictions, or even banking on your partner landing a job, then it's not truly affordable for you. Affordability means no strings, no conditions, and no dependence on external factors. You can deceive yourself, but the outcomes won't lie. So, how do you know if something is within your means? If you pay for it in cash and your financial situation remains unchanged without worrying about the future, it's within your means. Let's simplify. If you buy that boat outright and life's bumps don't shake your stability, then you can afford it. Would you regret buying a pack of gum if you lost your job tomorrow? No. The same applies if your sales predictions drop by a fraction. It doesn't matter. The concept of affordability is relative to your wealth. To break free from the cycle of flaunting wealth, recognize what's truly within your reach. Buying a Lamborghini or a boat isn't wrong, if it's genuinely affordable for you. Everything has its time and place. The quick path to becoming a millionaire is designed to lure you into the trap of lifestyle slavery. The allure of happiness, instant gratification, and fleeting joy are warning signs of that trap. How great it would be if what feels good in the moment was genuinely good for you. Chocolate, fast food, basking in the sun, or smoking. Unfortunately, some fleeting pleasures carry long-term consequences. Instant gratification is a pandemic, and its side effects are glaringly obvious. Debt and obesity. Most Americans are overweight because food is the easiest path to instant satisfaction. Sitting with a bag of chips might feel rewarding, but in reality, it's trading short-term pleasure for long-term trouble. If you're living with your parents and decide to take a $45,000 loan for a shiny Mustang over 72 months on a $10,000 a year bartending job, you've allowed instant gratification to win and shackled yourself to lifestyle slavery. Wealth, like health, isn't easy. Both require the same formula: discipline, sacrifice, perseverance, and the ability to delay gratification. If you can't resist the temptation of instant pleasure, achieving success in either wealth or health will be an uphill battle. Both require a shift from short-term thinking to long-term planning. Only this mindset can save you from lifestyle slavery. Recognize the dangers of temptation. Instant gratification is the bait, and lifestyle slavery is the real trap. The advertising industry is on an aggressive mission to hook you, and you're their target. Their shiny lure? A sparkling new car, a sprawling mansion, the latest gadget, or a product you must have today. Every day, you're bombarded with messages enticing you toward instant gratification. Without our services, you can't compete. Buy this medication, and you'll be healthier and happier. Get the latest iPhone, and your life will change. The question is, will you let the bait catch you? The illusion of lifestyle enslavement, a journey from temptation to freedom. Imagine this. You're not a serious gamer until you own this graphics card. Or, think about how your neighbors will envy you when you roll up in a new Audi. These messages share a common thread. You're the target, and sellers couldn't care less if it's within your means or not. To protect yourself, you must uncover the bait hidden behind the temptation. Welcome to the trap of lifestyle slavery, where the lure of instant gratification ensnares you, making you its prey. It's not you buying the product is buying you. Recognize the enemies of financial freedom and the habits that invite them into your life. Wait until the luxuries you desire truly match your means. Surprisingly, patience can bring those dreams closer, faster than you might think. The fast lane to nowhere. Money can't buy happiness, not when it's used to chase consumerism, which destroys freedom. Anything that robs your freedom is an enemy of true wealth. Used wisely, money can buy freedom, which leads to happiness. Real joy comes from good health, strong relationships, and the ability to live life on your terms, not necessarily from riches. Lifestyle slavery robs you of freedom, and with it, your wealth. Anything beyond your true means is simply not yours. Instant gratification destroys freedom, health, and choice. This is the lie they sell you. The madness of the slow road. Let me ask you this. Is it madness to spend 50 years working 50-hour weeks, only to be laid off when you're older, left to spend your remaining days in a small town worrying about getting to the bathroom on time? Wouldn't you call that insane? As Steve Buscemi said, "What if I told you there's a better way?" The slow road feels like the responsible path, especially when compared to reckless indulgence. It's all about discipline. Work a job, sacrificing 5 days a week. Skip fancy meals and avoid $5 coffee. Save 10% of your income, investing it diligently in stocks or retirement funds. Forget about dreaming of that sports car because you can't afford it. Buy cheap food, shop sales, and delay gratification until you're 65. Save, and save some more because compound interest is magical. A $1,000 investment today could grow into millions in 50 years. But here's the catch. The slow road is just another trap. A false sense of security. The slow road is often the first responsible choice people make as they mature. For many, it begins with leaving college behind. At that point, life is all about the here and now. Nights filled with drinking, impulsive shopping, vacations to Cancun, and stereos blasting in shiny cars, all without a care for the consequences. This carefree lifestyle creates a debt-filled foundation. But as responsibilities grow, marriage, kids, a mortgage, this reckless approach begins to crack. The uncertainty of the fast lane forces a pivot toward the slow road, which feels safer and more practical. The slow road offers the illusion of control. You trade spontaneity for a predictable paycheck, guided by well-meaning mentors like teachers, TV personalities, and trusted family members. You save, invest, and work hard. But are you really free? No, because the slow road is still a life spent in servitude. It's not freedom. It's another version of the same trap. The choice is yours. Recognize the bait behind the promises of instant gratification. Don't settle for a lifetime of delayed dreams either. True freedom lies in living on your terms, not enslaved by your desires or the false security of conventional paths. The slow lane, a risky gamble on life streams. Advisors, and yes, even your own parents, may push the so-called slow lane strategy, a deceptive force masked as wisdom. Yet even a group of skeptics could question its potential. The slow path to wealth is a bet, a lifelong wager that today's sacrifices will lead to tomorrow's riches. But when does this glorious tomorrow actually arrive? A promise of wealth at the cost of your life. The slow lane seldom faces challenge. It's a comforting lie, laced with a treacherous allure. By the time you uncover the truth, life has passed you by. In the meantime, millions prepare to follow the same treacherous path. If you buy into the lie, you sell your present for a glorious future. But does that future ever come? When will you finally spend millions and enjoy life? When will you bask in the fruits of your labor? The slow lane's main driver is time. Time spent at a job, time waiting for the stock market to deliver. Maybe your glorious future arrives after 40, when you're witnessing a second presidential term, or worse, replacing a second hip. Perhaps your glorious tomorrow will meet you at 83, tied to a foul-smelling bed, drenched in your own urine because your mind is ravaged by Alzheimer's. So when does the plan to retire rich become real? Will you live to enjoy the millions you've earned? As a teenager, I read books on personal finance promising wealth. Their advice? Save relentlessly, build a career, use coupons, live below your means. A law school graduate, eager to follow this advice, spends 60 hours a week working at a firm. Weekdays vanish in an office, weekends in recovery. After 12 years, they decide the job isn't fulfilling. But they persist, just one step away from becoming a partner with a $250,000 salary. The goal? Retire at 55, as financial gurus claim smart people eventually do. They save, work overtime, invest in mutual funds, contribute to 401(k)s. One day, while mowing the lawn on a warm summer afternoon at 51, they suffer a heart attack and die, 4 years shy of their goal. All the while, they justify their grueling weekdays in a job they hate for a future that never arrives. Here's the truth. You can either be rich in your youth or in your old age. But the slow lane carries the constant risk of death along the way. Ask a young person how to get rich now. Coupons, mutual funds, and 401(k)s? Laughable. Wealth's true joy lies in youth, in health, energy, passion, and yes, while you still have hair on your head. The peak of life is the time to enjoy riches, not after 40 years of 50-hour workweeks, when dreams have been crushed under the weight of routine. We know this deep down, yet we blindly trust a financial roadmap that promises riches, but only after decades of sacrifice. And does the slow lane even deliver? The 2008 recession exposed the lava beneath. Jobless? The plan collapses. When the stock market erases 50% of your savings, the plan fails. When the housing crisis wipes out 40% of your net worth, the plan crumbles. This strategy depends on time and factors beyond your control. Sadly, millions follow this path with blind faith, only to learn the bitter lesson decades later. The slow lane is risky, flawed, and powerless. It demands your life and dreams, only to fail like a losing gamble. The slow lane is not wealth, it's surrender. Arrogantly, you assume that you are invincible, that your job will always be secure. Unfortunately, there's no room for wheelchairs in a Lamborghini's trunk. The guiding signals and messages for the slow path begin to take root in the minds of those who walk that path over time. Mom and dad say, go to college, earn a degree, and get a job. Best-selling author David says, stop spending on expensive lattes. Sue advises, open a retirement IRA and deposit 10% of your salary. Ramsey insists, crush that debt as fast as possible. And CNBC proudly claims, the secret to wealth lies in index cards that promote 50-year index funds. These messages implant themselves as guiding principles in the minds of the slow path's travelers, paving the way for a lifelong journey toward wealth, one that takes the better part of an entire life. Understanding debt. Debt is bad. Eliminate it at all costs, even if it means working overtime for the rest of your life. Understanding time. I have plenty of time. I'll use it to earn more dollars. The more hours I work, the sooner I'll pay off my debt, and I'll also save for retirement at 65. Understanding education. Education is essential because it helps me earn a better salary. Understanding wealth. Money is scarce, and every dollar, every cent must be accounted for. A strict budget is necessary. If I want to retire at 65 with millions, I must ensure I don't squander my hard-earned income. Primary source of income. My job is my only source of income. Key to wealth. Compound interest is powerful. Investing $10 today will grow into hundreds of thousands in 50 years. Oh, and don't forget mutual funds and rising home values, or your 401(k). The wealth formula. Work, save, invest. Work, save, invest. Repeat this cycle for 40 years until retirement. If luck smiles on me, and the market gives a 12% return, I might retire at 55. Wealth equals job plus stock market wish. The destination? A comfortable retirement in the golden years. Responsibility and control. I am responsible for meeting my family's needs. But to fulfill this plan, I must depend on others. Stock markets, my employer, financial advisors, the government, and a stable company. Life's understanding. Find contentment in less. Stop dreaming big. Save, spend minimally, and avoid unnecessary risks. One day, I'll retire with millions. How do you recognize the slow path? Here's the blueprint. Go to school, get good grades, and earn a degree. Work overtime. Climb the corporate ladder. Save a fixed percentage of your income. Contribute to a 401(k). Invest in mutual funds. Buy and hold stocks. Rely on salary, pension, and benefits. Cut back on expenses. Pay off debt quickly. Clip coupons. Cancel credit cards. Understand the power of compound interest. Whenever you come across these familiar phrases, beware. you're being sold the slow path to wealth. Let me clarify, coupons and other slow path strategies have their place in a financial plan, but they are part of the plan, not the entire plan itself. The real problem lies in treating the slow path as the ultimate solution, the map to the slow path. If you want to uncover how the slow path builds wealth, you must retrace the mathematical foundations of its strategy, the wealth equation. This equation always depends on two variables: your primary source of income and the vehicle that drives your wealth. These two elements determine the limits of the slow path's wealth potential. Do you control your strength? Or is it fair to say that in this context, wealth equals job plus market investment? From another perspective, the equation appears as wealth equals real value plus compound interest. The variable factors of primary income include two changeable components of real value, dependent on the salary you earn in your job. Real value can be represented as either real value equals hourly wage times hours worked, or real value equals annual salary. The origin of compound interest lies in market investments, a global concept suggesting that a few dollars invested in the stock market today can transform into millions over decades. In Chapter 12, we will examine the mathematical structure of the slow lane and identify its fundamental flaws. This chapter will unveil why society's plans, your parents' plans, mainstream media's plans, and financial gurus' plans are all ineffective when it comes to achieving true wealth. Have you traded your conscience for the weekend? Your conscience is worth more than a week. The detrimental effects of the slow lane's institutionalization first rob you of perspective and then push you into the darkness of ignorance. In 2007, on a chilly morning in Washington, D.C., a violinist played 6 classical pieces at a train station. But this was no ordinary violinist, nor was the violin ordinary. The musician, disguised, was Joshua Bell, one of the world's greatest violinists. Just the night before, he had performed to a sold-out concert hall in Boston, where tickets cost $100 each. But on that morning, using his $3.5 million violin, Joshua played in front of 2,000 commuters rushing to work. For 45 minutes, he performed. Only 6 people paused briefly to listen. Not once did a crowd gather. Around 20 individuals tossed coins into his case without stopping, and when he finally stopped playing, there was no applause, no recognition, just the bustling noise of a busy station. This experiment by the Washington Post revealed an incredibly powerful truth. Even the greatest artist cannot spark recognition in people trapped in the rat race, their minds dulled by indifference. Has life made you so miserable that you're no longer alive inside? Has the Monday to Friday grind made you so numb that you can't see the beauty before you, or hear its music? The commuters passed like the living dead, unaware of the magnificence in their midst. Would it have been any different if this experiment were conducted on a Saturday? This question exposes the disdain buried in the slow lane. When you dedicate your life solely to earning a paycheck, you risk dragging your feet through a busy railway station, blind to life's wonders. Life doesn't begin Friday night and end Monday morning. Thank God it's Friday? Really? The slow lane and its roots. One evening, a friend scolded me for refusing to join her on a Saturday night outing. "Are you crazy?" she asked. "It's Saturday night." I explained something the slow lane mindset could never comprehend. For me, every day is Saturday because I'm not enslaved by Monday to Friday. Wealth is born from family, fitness, and freedom. You see the value of freedom most clearly on a Friday evening. That's why my historical discussion with my friend that night was one of the most enlightening hours of my life. Sitting at a bar, we listened to the lively buzz of conversations. The bar was vibrant, the music humming, and you'd never guess a recession was ongoing. Amid the noise, I asked her, "What do you hear?" She replied, "I see people enjoying themselves and having fun." "Why?" I pressed. "What do you mean, why?" "It's Friday," she responded. Probing further, I asked, "What's so special about Friday? If we came here on a Monday, this place would be empty and the sounds of joy absent. What makes Friday stand out compared to Monday or Wednesday?" Realizing where my questioning was leading, she laughed and said, "People get paid on Friday." I had my answer. People celebrate Friday evenings because they're rejoicing over the fruits of their labor, their reward for 5 days of toil and servitude, 2 days of unrestrained freedom. Saturday and Sunday are, in reality, the reward for the work done from Monday to Friday. Friday evening becomes the symbol of that payment, a token of 2 days of freedom. But that freedom comes at a price. The toil of Monday through Friday, a barter of your time and soul. Think about it. Why would anyone accept a deal where they give 5 and only get 2 in return? Imagine this. You hand me 5 slices of bread today, and I promise to give you back only 2 tomorrow. Sounds ridiculous, right? But isn't that exactly what most people do? 5 days of servitude in exchange for a mere 2 days of liberation. That's a 60% negative return. Keep making such poor investments, and you're bound to end up bankrupt. Financially, emotionally, and spiritually. Yet, here we are, living this cycle, week after week. If you have children, perhaps you should question this normalized madness. Your kids grow up not just on weekends. They grow every single day, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. They don't wait for you to finish attending quarterly meetings or responding to emails from Houston. They take their first steps, say their first words, and dance their first dance while you're stuck in the grind. And when you're caught in the vicious 5-4-2 trap, your children grow up, your relationships wither, and your life slips through your fingers. The root of this problem lies in poor time management. The slow path, as many call it, is nothing but a time thief. It forces you to trade 5 days of work for a fleeting 2 days of freedom. It's a terrible deal unless you create a system that lets you reclaim time for time itself. What if, instead of 5 for 2, you could flip the ratio to 1 for 2, or even better, 3 for 10? Would you take that deal? Of course you would. It's a winning investment. When I designed my life, I refused to settle for the slow grind. My roadmap aimed to take me to my dreams faster, with a better return on my time. Instead of working 40 years to enjoy a sliver of freedom in old age, I reclaimed control. Now, I live in a state of abundance, trading nothing for everything I desire. But if you stay on the slow path, the negative 60% return will drain not just your freedom but your soul. Wealth, after all, is defined by freedom. If you want proof, just look around on a Friday night. The slow path slaves celebrate their weekend liberty as if it were a festival. 2 days off is the consolation prize for their week-long surrender. The truth is, normal is overrated. The film Revolutionary Road, starring Leonardo DiCaprio and Kate Winslet, captures this perfectly. It tells the story of a young suburban couple trapped in the slow path's suffocating noose. The husband joins the daily grind, disappearing into the sea of faceless commuters, while the wife plays the role of the perfect homemaker. Deep down, they know something is wrong. They're merely surviving, not living. Their story reflects a harsh reality for many, settling for mediocrity and abandoning dreams for the sake of normalcy. The slow path brainwashes us into thinking this is the only way to live. It's marketed as the holy grail for the average person. Sure, we're told, you're not going to become wealthy through music, acting, or sports, so stick to the slow path. For some, it feels logical. But for dreamers, for those with bigger visions, it's a prison sentence. So, ask yourself, are you okay trading 5 for 2? Or do you want to rewrite the script? It's time to step off the slow path and create a life that truly reflects your dreams. I was barely 30 years old when it hit me. Living paycheck to paycheck isn't really living. I made a vow to myself, I will become rich. To make this happen, I took on a second job, and every dollar I earned from it, I saved. I used the salaries from both my primary and secondary jobs to cover my daily expenses. For 5 long years, my life revolved around saving money, and it looked something like this. Living in an 8x2 room with minimal rent. Relying on public transportation and a motorcycle to get around. Working almost every single day, with barely any weekly time off. Hardly eating out. Never buying anything nice for myself or my wife. Rarely going out or enjoying life. Through this disciplined and austere lifestyle, I managed to save $0,000 over 5 years. This amount could have been more, but I made a poor investment of $300 right before the Dow hit its peak in October 2007 and lost it all in the recession. I was at my breaking point, spending 5 years in a room that felt like a prison cell, with work grinding my brain to exhaustion. It was as if my life had turned into a living jail sentence. Sure, I saved money, But at what cost? As a person, I had lost my peace of mind and mental serenity. I realized I couldn't live this life anymore. The so-called slow lane is a path that demands frugality and sacrifice to the extent that life itself begins to feel like captivity. It might promise a better future, but at what expense? The person following this path might have a decent life, maybe even a good one. But is this really living? Will this bring their dreams to life? The slow lane asks for the sacrifice of today in exchange for the promise of a rich tomorrow. But to me, settling for less is not a strategy, it's surrender. That's why the slow lane is just average, neither extraordinary nor terrible. It might even improve your life. But to truly live, you need to replace this plan with something far more impactful. The flaws of the slow lane. The slow lane is essentially an improved version of the same old beaten path, a path riddled with responsibility, accountability, and societal norms. It often overlooks a simple truth. The best time to enjoy wealth is when you're young, filled with energy and enthusiasm, not when you're at the tail end of your life. The slow lane is a plan that takes decades to bear fruit. It requires political savvy in the corporate world, relentless frugality, and a firm grip on Wall Street. For the followers of this path, weekends are merely a reward for slogging through the weekdays. Think of it as a 5-for-2 deal. You work 5 days to earn 2 days of rest. And this arrangement is non-negotiable because, let's face it, the 5-day workweek is a standard everyone is expected to follow. The destination: mediocrity. For the slow lane traveler, the destination is a life of mediocrity. It's not terrible, but it's not extraordinary either. Sure, you might eventually become successful, but at what cost? You trade years of your life for a future that might not even match your dreams. Take my experience in college as an example. I spent 5 years in college, piling up $0,000 in debt, and I vividly remember one particular job workshop. It was at a major insurance company in Chicago, a basic entry-level role. During orientation, the employers told us exactly what to expect. We'll give you 3 things: a desk, a phone, and a phone book. You'll spend 10 hours a day cold calling people to build your client base. We know it's not glamorous, but the rewards are worth it. I could barely contain my disbelief. This was the grand reward for spending 5 years and thousands of dollars on college? Sitting in a 6-by-6 cubicle, flipping through a phone book, and interrupting strangers during dinner? No thanks. If I had to cold call strangers, I'd rather do it for myself, not for some boss. And that's when it hit me. Jobs are designed to normalize mediocrity. If you want to escape the slow lane, if you want wealth and freedom fast, you need to make a bold move. You need to quit your job. Yes, quit your job. Jobs are designed to exploit you, to keep you in the slow lane. If you're serious about living life on your terms, you need to break free from this cycle and take control of your own future. It doesn't matter if you're an electrician or a manager at some store. If you're doing a job, it's inherently limited. Why? Because jobs are built on limited benefits and limited control. Sure, you might have a good job, but when it comes to creating wealth, jobs restrict both essential aspects: profit and freedom. Here are 6 reasons why your financial plan shouldn't solely rely on the slow lane of just having a job. Flaw number 1: trading time for money. Who taught us that exchanging time for money is a great idea? Why do we willingly sell our freedom for a paycheck? Think about it. It's a ridiculous system. A job exploits you by ruthlessly consuming your time. Your income from a job is directly tied to the hours you put in. It's a brutal exchange of 5 days of work for 2 days of rest. But let me rephrase the word time. What's time? It's life. In a job, you're selling your life for money. If you work, you get paid. If you don't, you don't. Who made us sign up for this soul-sucking contract? Let's break it down. If you save 10% of your income diligently every month, how long will it take to save $1 million? Probably centuries. Do you have 250 years to save that kind of money? Probably not. Wouldn't it be better to make money regardless of whether you're working, sleeping, relaxing, or sitting on a beach somewhere? Imagine earning money even as time passes, where time works for you instead of against you. Does such a system exist? Yes, but you won't find it in the slow lane of traditional jobs. Flaw number 2: limited learning from experience. I've learned more in 2 months as an entrepreneur than I did in 10 years of meaningless jobs. Why? Because jobs restrict you to specific skills within a fixed framework of market needs. In a job, you're just a cog in a machine. And when that cog becomes obsolete, your job vanishes. Thousands of workers in the auto industry lost their jobs because robots took over. Take typewriters, for example. Remember those? How does someone who repairs typewriters make a living today? What about stockbrokers or travel agents? Apps like Uber and Lyft have turned taxi drivers' jobs into yesterday's news. Jobs are like trends. They're here today, gone tomorrow. Even if your skills are valued now, there's no guarantee they'll matter in the future. Jobs also have repetitive tasks. After the initial learning curve, your work becomes a monotonous routine. Your mind stops growing, and new knowledge ceases to come in. A job limits your learning, which is a death sentence for a fulfilling life. The real experience comes not from the work you do, but from the life you live. Do you need a job to gain experience? Or do you need to focus on creating something that sets you free for life? Flaw number 3, no control. A job is like sitting in the back of a pickup truck. You're exposed to the sun, wind, and bumps along the way while the driver enjoys a comfortable seat. If the road gets rough, you're the one tossed around. Worst case scenario? You're thrown out altogether. When you sit in the back, you have no control. And building your financial plan on something you don't control? That's foolish. If you don't control your income, you don't control your financial future. And if you don't control your financial future, you don't control your freedom. Millions of people obediently follow the tune of their employers, believing jobs are the ultimate safety net. But is safety your only goal? Do you want a life of mere survival, or do you want wealth and freedom? A single pink slip can derail your entire financial journey. This is why you need to rethink the path you're on. Stop trading your life for money. Stop limiting your growth and control. Start building a system where time and opportunities work in your favor. Because life is too short for the slow lane. It can affect you. You're playing a game, not accepting the truth. You're fooling yourself. In a job, there is no defense, no security. Flaw number 4, Linda's foul breath. I know people who have been employees all their lives. I've heard about their troubles and frustrations over the years. After changing over 24 jobs, I've noticed that when it comes to office politics, nothing ever really changes. People come and go, days pass, but the same stories keep repeating. Someone is exploiting their boss to gain an advantage. Someone is lazy, yet takes credit for all the work. Everyone is bothered by Linda's bad breath, but no one dares to tell her. Lazy Lester is always late, but leaves early. Horace steals food and wears the same sports jacket every single day. Lester never changes the paper in the photocopier. The same stories, different people. It doesn't matter where you work. Office politics always play a role. The stage may change, but the actors remain the same. And sadly, as employees caught in this toxic environment, you too have to play the game. You either have to be obedient or vengeful, depending on your coworkers or your boss. I remember my first girlfriend, who after tiring of the corporate world with a good salary, kept crying about her experiences. There's a process to everything. If you have a good idea, you send it to your boss. Your boss then sends it for review to their boss, who returns it with a bunch of comments. By the time the idea reaches any kind of conclusion, 3 or 4 claimants have emerged, each wanting to take credit for it. Who needs this web of deceit that destroys your conscience? The only way to deal with office politics is to take control of it. Become the boss. To become the boss, not only does everything need to be done your way, but you also have to take responsibility for it. Flaw number 5, paying yourself last. The membership of paying everyone else first and yourself last is a slow route. The problem is that it's almost impossible in a job. Local, state, and federal governments impose heavy taxes on earnings, and you have limited options to avoid tax through contributions to 401k and IRAs. You can invest only about 10% of your income or a maximum of $1,500, whichever is lesser. If, by hard work, you even make it to corporate management, be prepared for 50% of your earnings to be gone before it ever touches your hands. As an employee, you're immediately placed at the bottom of the payment hierarchy, and yes, this membership is imposed on you even without your consent. If you're paid last, Everyone else gets their share first. In this case, forget about building wealth quickly. Flaw number 6. Salary determination. Have you ever gotten a 1,000% salary raise from your boss? Imagine, after your work brings significant value, you confidently walk into your boss's office to demand a raise. I've made this company valuable, I'm reliable, and I rarely take sick days. Your boss suddenly gets defensive, looks up at the ceiling, and leans back in his executive chair. You take a deep breath and boldly declare, "That's why, sir, I want a 1,000% salary increase." Your boss suddenly lets out a loud sigh, jumps forward, slams his hand on the desk, and says, "What's this? Are you joking?" "I'm not joking. I'm serious. I make $1 an hour, and I want $0 instead. What do you think of this proposal? You're not getting any raise, and you should be thankful I'm not firing you. Get out of my office and stop wasting my time. How does that sound?" You leave, but your boss never expected such a demand for a 1,000% raise. It's not something that will ever happen again. As an employee, you can forget about a 1,000% raise. You can't even ask for more than a 10% raise in most cases. But as an employee in any company, this is the path you've chosen. This is the road you've set yourself on. Your value is defined and confined to a set limit. This is why a job limits your wealth, freedom, and personal development. And these limits cannot be erased. A job determines your future with a criminal deal of time. 5 days of work for 2 days of freedom. A job binds you to a framework of experiences, taking away your control. A job takes your freedom. It forces you to work with people you wouldn't even want to look at. The job pays you last, making you wait. The job gains a tyrannical control over your income. These are the limitations, the resistances to wealth. Do you still want the job? Chapter summary. The nature of the fast track. In a job, you sell your freedom for a paycheck. Experience comes from work, but the work environment becomes irrelevant. Wealth accumulation fails when you don't control the primary source of your income. The slow path. Why aren't you rich? Someone should have told us at the beginning of life that we are going to die. Maybe then we truly live, savoring every single day, every single moment. Do it now, because tomorrow is very limited. Michael Lydon. Unveiling the failure of the slow path. If your strategy for wealth is the slow path, I can confidently say that you will never be rich, and you never will be. How can I be so sure? It's simple. The slow path strategy is based on uncontrollable, limited leverage. If there's one concept you should remember, it's this. If the slow path is your plan, then you will never be rich.